How's it going, guys? This is Maddex. I just wanted to let you know that when I originally filmed this video, I used the built-in mic for the Canon M50, and to say the least, it picked up a lot of background noise. So I decided I'm just going to kind of change the way that I'm going to make this video, and I'm going to voice it over and have some video clips for you. You'll see a couple of clips of me in the background without any audio, just showing off, the whatever it is. It'd be a disc or a box, because I have all 10 of my favorites physical currently. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know before we get into the video, it is different from what I planned, and next time there should be more actual camera work with me in it. So I am going to start off with number 1 and work my way back to number 10, which is a little bit different than most people do it, but I think that's how I want to do it. Maybe just to try and see if I like it better this way rather than 10 to 1. So starting off with number 1, Cowboy Bebop. This will be my all-time favorite forever. I don't think it'll be topped. I can't really explain how much I love this show. It would take a miracle for something to even just push it out of the first spot. I will say, going forward, it will not be in any other lists that I do, just because it seems unfair to me. I enjoy it so much, and I think any list that it can compete in, for me, it will win. It's obviously not the same for everybody else, but for me, that's the case. Anyways, there's a lot of things that play into this. I don't have time to get into all of them, but the visuals hold up still to this day. The characters are far and above some of the best that you'll ever see. The development is slightly different than most animes, and it finds a way to capture you more than others do. They're so similar to each other in certain ways, and then they're so different in others. It's weird. It's hard to explain, but you can find similarities in them, and you can also find similarities in them and yourself. Like just the connection you could have with the character. For me, Spike was a very, very connecting character. I have the same mannerisms as him. I look very similar to he does. I even sound kind of like he does. There's a lot of things that play into it, and if you have a chance, please give this a try. It is an absolute instant classic. The soundtrack will blow you away. The visuals are still good, and the characters are they're unforgettable. So Cowboy Bebop for me will always be number 1. Moving on to number 2, it is High School DxD. This is kind of a weird one. It's a big step from Cowboy Bebop, but this came at a time in my life when I needed something to genuinely just cheer me up, something that was funny, something that was light. This had it all for me. I was a teenager, the fan service was there, it was hilarious. The main character I could kind of resonate with, right? And it has a little bit of action. It has some pretty funny, down-to-earth characters. I think a lot of times characters are just forgettable, and I feel like there were a few characters in High School DxD that held my interest, and still do to this day. So it was a gorgeous anime when it came out. It's, like I said, it's funny, it's got fan service, it's got a little bit of action. The story can be wishy-washy sometimes, but it's definitely there. It's definitely there. There's some good fights in there every once in a while, so definitely give it a shot if you have the chance. Moving on to number 3 is Tokyo Ravens. This one to me was really, really good. I feel like a lot of people wouldn't bring it up in their videos or lists just because of how it's kind of a slow burn at first. But once you kind of get a feel for the characters, you get a feel for the story, the magic, just the basics of what's going on, you start understanding things a little bit better, and you start to feel for the characters. You start to kind of like them because of what they're going through and how you're almost with them in the experience. It does have your basic school magic type deal, but I think they found a way to make it a little bit more different and a little bit more interesting. So if you get a chance, give it a watch. It's definitely worth for the characters and the story, especially towards the end. Moving on to number 4 is The Irregular at Magic High School. This one is one of my favorites. I think it'll stay there for a long time. The style of the anime is great, the animation, the color, they kind of keep your eye locked onto the action at all times. It's a concept that is really cool, and I know this isn't something that you look at when you watch an anime, but it has that believability to it. And the main character is an absolute badass. So if you're into that, if you're into the main character being OP and learning about him, he's kind of built the way that Spike is, where he's already done things in his life, and you kind of learn almost backwards, right? You learn what he knows, how he got there, some of his powers, and you're like, I wonder how he got those, or I wonder what people are saying when they talk about him. They already know who he is, and he has a reputation, and you kind of learn why. And it's really good in that aspect. The character building is fantastic. The visuals, like I said, are great, and it has an upcoming season as well. So if you're into it, go ahead and give it the second season a shot whenever that comes out. But do please give The Irregular at Magic High School a chance. Number 5 is Sekirae. This one holds a special place in my heart, and I can almost guarantee will never leave my top 10. It's just too cute. It's a great show. It's funny. The characters are all down to earth. They have different character types, as in their emotions and how they go about, loving the main character or the fighting. They all have their own fighting styles, and I find that really cool. But yeah, it's cool to see the tsunderes, the yanderes, the way that they kind of portray themselves and how they all tie into the main character, how they like him. It is that harem fan service, but at the same time, it drives a fine line of romance and action and almost slight mystery as you try to figure out who these characters are and why they're doing what they're doing, and how they're going to survive / win this thing that they're all tied up in. So anyways, if you get a chance, it is a really down-to-earth, sweet little anime. Sekirae with 2 seasons. Number 6 is Your Manga. Now, this is kind of a shoot-'em-up, action-packed thriller type anime, but at the same time, they find a way to push a storyline really well. They give you a character that you kind of root for right off the bat. He's young. He seems kind of stripped of his innocence because he is, it's kind of controversial, but he's like a child soldier. And anyways, you come across these characters that teach him things, and they also slightly learn things from him as they learn about him alongside you, the viewer. So, they're learning things about the main character as you're learning things about all of them. And it really helps the character building, the progression of the story. You find out later on that the story is really more intricate than you had imagined, and that they're not just mindlessly going in and shooting things. Even though they're weapons dealers, they have a plan. They have a reason, a rhythm, a rhyme behind what they're doing. And it really turns out for a fantastic ending, a fantastic anime. Next is number 7, Air Gear. This one's definitely different from all the other ones on this list. It's a little more goofy. It's a little more just off the walls weird. I kind of relate it to something like Food Wars, where they have these battles, they have these gangs or classes that they are trying to build up and get better. And the main character is one you root for sure. He's weird. A lot of the characters on this are weird, but you really want him to succeed. You can see his dream, you can see his passion behind what he's doing. A lot of people come through, they come and go. They're really likable people. Like I said, they just have some odd caricatures in this show, but there are abilities and fights and these scenes that I think are really cool. It's not a great anime by any means, but it definitely holds a spot in my top 10, mostly for nostalgia. Next is number 8, Black Lagoon. I think this is an instant classic, not just among regular anime, but also among the action genre. It's got to be up there on the best of those. It's got great characters. The visuals are still fantastic, even though it's a little bit older. It's got all the action you'd ever need. It's funny. There's a little bit of fan service here and there. This is just ever so slight bit of romance. They get you into these characters and get you to kind of want to be a part of their crew. So if you get a chance and you're looking for a really, really, really good action-packed anime that's a little bit more on the adult side, Black Lagoon is the way to go. 29 episodes, I believe 6 of those being OVAs. Coming in at number 9 is Freezing. This is probably a sleeper and hardly on any lists, just because it seems kind of dull at first. I think it does have a lot of fan service, but it also does have, in turn, a lot of action. It's gruesome, it's brutal, the women are badass, the characters can be pretty lovable, but they also pack a punch. The only thing that I don't like about the anime is I feel it's kind of dull color-wise. There's 2 seasons, a lot happens, but in the end, you get a real good feel for the characters, who they are, and which ones you end up liking. It is the school type anime, so there is that to watch for, but I still think it's great nonetheless. Last but not least, coming in at number 10 is Tenchi Muyo War on Geminar. This is a really, really good anime in my opinion. You may not have heard of it. It's not that unpopular, but it's also not that popular. It's kind of in the limbo where people may not know about it, but some people do. I think it's underrated. It's more of a spin-off. It's not actually Tenchi. It's Kenshi, I believe it's his cousin, but he is a badass. He's just like the ultimate badass in this show. It's an isekai, so he's in a different world. He's been summoned. He just wants to go home, but he ends up liking it there, and there's all these fan service moments, but there's double the action to come back with it. It's got a little bit of slice of life, a little bit of romance, and the characters they're not that memorable, but the main character himself certainly is. The fighting is what really, really gets me. It definitely caught me off guard. It's mecha. They're like live mechas. His is like a monster, and I say monster as in he really tears people up, and it looks more like an animal than the rest do. So it's really, really cool. You get a bunch of different parts of the world that get shown off. I think they did isekai pretty well in this one. I want to say thank you for anybody who watched all the way through. Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. This means a lot to me. I've been wanting to do this for a long, long time, and I just haven't had the time. So I think I'm going to start doing it like this from now on. Once I get a microphone, you will see me in front of the camera more often, but this is a much easier way, and I think it helps me with my editing skills. If you did watch all the way through, thank you so very much. I appreciate you. And the videos will be much, much better next time. Thanks for watching.